welcome to a Monday morning here in New York City. First things first, I'm Jenna Wolfe. That is the Hall of Famer Cris Carter. That is Nick Wright. A great weekend of football and some basketball and some baseball. So we got a lot to
fights.
Got a lot to get to. A lot of good things to talk about today. Big show. The Pats barely escaped in Chicago. Cam Newton led a comeback for the ages against the Super Bowl champs. But why don't we start with the Cowboys in Washington yesterday? Looking to win 2 in a row for the first time all season. In the fourth, Dak Prescott strip sacked by Ryan Kerrigan in the end zone. Washington recovers. They're up 10. Less than 2 to go. Dak runs it in. That cuts the lead to 3. Cowboys get the ball back. Dak finds Cole Beasley to get them into Washington territory. A field goal to tie it from 52 out. And it bangs off the left upright. Washington holds on to win 20-17. Here is Dak Prescott after the game.
Make that field goal go in overtime. Who knows what happened? So it wasn't our worst performance out there today. It's a lot that we can learn from, we can get better from. And as I said, going into this bye week, that's something that we're going to take. We're going to figure out why we're not doing as well on the road as we're doing at home. And we're going to figure out how to put ourselves in the best position to succeed. We've got a great team. We got great guys in that locker room that all support each other. I mean, I've been part of some good teams since I've been playing the game of football, and this team is special. So our heads aren't down, heads up, and we're ready to get better this bye week and move forward in the season.
Somehow his glass is still half full. Nick, what was the key to Washington winning this game yesterday?
Man, they shut down Zeke. And credit to them, because that was the least productive game of Zeke's NFL career. And that, I mean, there's guys trying to stop him from doing his job. We talked all week. When you're playing the Cowboys, you go into a game and you say, we have to slow down or stop 21. And they did a better job than just about any team has done since, Zeke's entire football career, since probably dating back to Ohio State. With that said, we showed it in the highlight. That Dak mistake was an absolute killer. They had a 3rd and 4 they converted that they ended up being called back because of a penalty on the rookie right guard Connor Williams. And then immediately thereafter, Dak tries to get himself out of trouble and just sets the ball on the ground. I mean, score in that situation, 13-10. You're right there. And that, I mean, it's hard to overcome that. Now, they almost did. I understand they had a 47-yard field goal that turned into a 52-yard field goal because of a snap infraction, and they miss it. But when you're that limited offensively, if you let the other team score on defense, very difficult to come back from.
I got to give a lot of credit to Jay Gruden. We don't talk about Jay much. Jay hadn't been talked about much of his career. With his brother, John Gruden, getting most of the attention. Yeah. Even in his retirement, John was more popular as a broadcaster there at the other network. And Jay, he's out here trying to make a living as an NFL coach. But for him to have his #1 running back from LSU, they get him this year. He gets hurt. They go out on the free agent wire, acquire Adrian Peterson. He said, we're going to play behind this offensive line after making that trade for Alex Smith. They don't have quality wide receivers. So this was a game, they didn't have no wide receivers on the field. So for me, I got to give credit. It's nice to say their defense played well. Leaning on this offensive line and the grit and hard work of Adrian Peterson has made this team, after 6 games, they're 4-2, and it's because of their head coach. Like, it's a tough, gritty football team. There's not one unit on this team you're in love with. Most of the running backs are hurt. Alex Smith is who he is, 14 completions yesterday. Wide receivers, defensive backfield. Josh Norman is not the player he was. They do have a consistent little pass rush as a group, but not a great group of linebackers. It has to be the head coach and what he's doing week in and week out, giving Washington a chance. That's why they're in the conversation of, well, who's the best team in the NFC East? You got to give Washington after their win, and especially if you watch the game, like, this is a good quality football team. Both these teams need a wide receiver. I mean, we're approaching the trade deadline. If Washington can add one of those top wide receivers who might be available, we'll be talking about later, maybe Amari Cooper, maybe some other guys, Demaryius Thomas, they're from Denver. Man, they would be in position to get them a playoff spot in the NFC.
The only unit on Washington that I feel like is B+ or better is their offensive line. And yesterday it looked like they had the best offensive line on the field. Yesterday, it looked like Trent Williams and Scherf and those guys. Listen, I want to give Peterson credit because I've been down on him for 2 years now, and this year he is having a resurgence. So, like, I didn't think that was possible after the football I watched him play last year, but a lot of that credit goes to him and that offensive line, who is playing excellent football throughout the year, keeping Alex Smith upright and opening those holes for Peterson. But if you're Dallas, you look at this game and you say, Washington beat us with our blueprint. You said 14 completions, right? Mm-hmm. Ran for over 100 yards.
Yep.
That won the turnover battle. Won the, I think, won the time of possession battle barely. It was close, but won. Like, all of the things that Dallas tries to do to win football games was solid in special teams. Washington was able to do to them.
And yet we go into every game that Dallas plays and we almost expect them to win because we feel like they have such a storied franchise and this is what they do. But if you look at the Cowboys and Washington over the last couple years since 2015, Cowboys are 29-26. Washington, 28-25-1. Why do we just expect so much from these Cowboys? Why do we assume that they've got so much success the last couple of years?
It's just hype, Jenna. It's hype. I mean, they got a lot of fans. They got a lot of fans out there, and the media love the Cowboys, but it's hype. This is not a good football team. Like, I can't believe that they thought they were going to be able to get through the season with their wide receiver. I made a mistake. Hearns, I thought Hearns was going to be on track for a 1,000-yard season. No, he looks like a number 2, 3-ish, 4 wide receiver. The only wide receiver that they have is Michael Gallup, the young kid they just drafted this year. He's the only promising wide receiver they have that can play outside. Cole Beasley, he needs some help. I mean, he's been their most dependable wide receiver, but the hype around the Cowboys, it's real. But man, I mean, that, if you look at it, since the start of 2015, 15, 16, 17, and now a quarter of a way, halfway through 18. Yeah, half game better than the Washington Redskins. Wow, that's surprising. Most people, they would not know.
I never would have believed it. I didn't know what you were going to say there, but I can't, like, I know that the Cowboys, because they had the one great year, the one awful year mixed in there, because 2015 was the injury year, 2016 was the Dak year. But for Washington, a team that, despite being in the nation's capital, goes under the radar seemingly every year since they moved on from RG3, they've been as good as Dallas. Now, and Dallas got to figure out what the hell's happening to them on the road. Like, now they are 0-4 on the road. Now the home-road splits are 28 a game, 3-0 at home with no turnovers. To what they do yesterday, they turned it over again. They lost again. So now they have, I think, 8 turnovers on the road, scoring 13 a game, and they're 0-4. That you said on Friday, all they got to do is find a way to win 3 games on the road, potentially, if they're going to be that good at home.
Yes.
Those 3 road wins are going to look hard to come by.
They'll be their first 3.
Right. When do they play in New York? When do they play the Giants? There's maybe one. Past that, I don't know where they're finding it.
All right, let's take a break. Time now for Put a Grade on It, sponsored by CarMax. All right, we saw Dak Prescott had an up-and-down performance yesterday. Threw for 273 yards, threw a touchdown, ran for another. He also lost 2 costly fumbles. CC, put a grade on Dak Prescott's performance yesterday.
It's hard with Dak because the talent I know around him is not the best in the league. I got to give him a C. That's about it. When you turn the football over, he was hunkering for a D. We had a little pop quiz. He got a little better up this grade. I'm going to give him a C. But when you turn the football over, it's hard to pass Nick's class.
Yeah, I mean, he threw for 270 yards. He had the one big play to Michael Gallup. But his offense scores 17 points, and his offense gave the other team 7 in the most critical spot of the game. I think a C is too nice. I'd give him a D+. I mean, he had a good completion percentage, completed and it threw for, by Dak standards, a lot of yards, but the 2 turnovers, scoring in the teens again, I can't give him a good grade. D+.
All right, got to take a break. Coming up, a game we didn't think would be this close. How were the Patriots able to hold off the Chicago Bears? Next on First Things First. The World Series begins tomorrow on Fox. Manny Machado and the Dodgers taking on Mookie Betts in the Red Sox Game 1 of the Fall Classic. Tomorrow, I'm already applauding it, starting at 7:30 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app.
This is fired up for a World Series as I could be that doesn't involve my hometown team. Because the Dodgers got Puig, who's my favorite player in baseball, Machado, who I'm liking more and more every day the more I watch him
why
play.
Puig is your favorite player.
Because Puig, when he burst onto the scene years ago, everyone was criticizing him. Oh, he's too exuberant, and he's awesome. Puig's awesome. Machado, I'm starting to like him more and more. Kershaw, who's been unfairly maligned his whole career. And they're playing Boston, who wins way too much in every sport.
How can you win too much?
It's
because they're good.
It's just the city. It's just
you got to change your branding, man.
No, I don't. Branding is strong.
We're trying to get more people to watch the show.
I'm appealing to a LA base right now. You can appeal to a Boston base. That's fine. Okay. I'm just honest.
You guys good?
Yes.
Awesome.
Let's go. The World Series.
Well, I can't say that.
Time now for us to go.
See, there you go.
I'm cheering for a good series.
Browns lost in typical Cleveland fashion with Bucs kicker Chandler Catanzaro hitting the game-winning 59-yard field goal in overtime. LeBron James was not happy with the longest. I know Baker was stunned with the longest field goal ever in overtime coming against his team. The King tweeted, "Kicker's been missing from 15, 20, 25 out with nobody else on the field all year, but of course he would make it from 59 yards out versus the Browns." Like, come on, man.
I don't know exactly what LeBron's talking about when he says, first of all, there's no 15-yard field goal. Second of all, he says with nobody else on the field. So I don't really know what he's talking about, but I felt his pain yesterday with a guy that picked Cleveland to make the playoffs, and now they keep losing in heartbreaking fashion.
But they are very close.
They're close every week.
Every week they get close. 4 overtime games. But do you remember a couple weeks ago, when I said, did you see Baker's face on the sideline? I didn't know that was like the third or fourth. We were going to see the same reincarnation of the face with every time they find different ways to lose.
LeBron had a tough day. Can't get a win on the court. Tough weekend. And his other team, the Cowboys, they had kicker problems too.
Yeah,
that's his other team.
You're right about that.
Time now for stories to start your morning, sponsored by Gillette Clear Gel. Patrick Mahomes continued his ridiculous season, threw for over 378 yards and 4 touchdowns as the Chiefs walloped the Bengals 45-10. Nick, how impressive was Mahomes last night?
Man, I was wishing Coach Mangini was on the show today. Because he said last few weeks we've seen some ways to attack Patrick Mahomes.
We still need to see more, though.
Oh, well, okay. I'm glad you're
I mean, like we still need to see more.
Okay, but what we saw last night was against a team that, if they lose, becomes the 1 seed in the AFC. He played a nearly flawless football game. I think he missed 1 throw, 2 throws maybe all night. 1 got picked off. 1 could have been a touchdown, just barely missed the guy. I thought he played great.
The variance of things he did as a quarterback, you can see him on the scrambling. He made good decisions, staying out of real contact. Right here, forces Hardy Nickerson's son right there as a linebacker to make a bad call. Right here, steps up in the pocket, shakes the defender off of his arm, shows his strength. Right here, shoulder shrug to the cornerback, Dre Kirkpatrick, get him in the flat and throw the corner. Right here, throwing off platform across his body, the way the coaches say, don't do that. So, yes, very impressive with the variance of things that he's able to do from the quarterback position.
Another MVP candidate, Todd Gurley, scored 3 touchdowns yesterday as the Rams dominated the Niners 39-10. Gurley now has 14 touchdowns. No one else even's got 10. CC, is Gurley in the MVP conversation?
He'd have to be in the conversation. They play 3 receivers most of the time on the field, 1 tight end and Todd Gurley. They're going to play a style, 90% of the time they're going to spread the field. You have a power back like him, spread the field, great vision, has the burst to be able to score from anywhere on the field, great receiver out of the backfield. I mean, he is the type of back that you want in this offense. Right now, L. Bell still on vacation. Best all-around back that we have in pro football is Todd Gurley.
And, I mean, he finished 2nd in the MVP last year.
Yes.
He's definitely in the conversation this year. I love what they do at the goal line. Because they have those 3 wide receivers, they don't bunch it up.
Yep.
They spread you out, and they basically make you pick your poison there, and Gurley's killed him on that.
A credit to the Rams signing their top 2 talents, Aaron Donald and Todd Gurley. Look what they invested in. These guys got new contracts, and they're playing as if they're playing for another new contract.
Yep.
Money well spent.
All right, moving on to the Saints and Ravens. Drew Brees became the 4th quarterback to throw 500 touchdown passes. However, this game came down to the wire as Ravens kicker Justin Tucker missed his first extra point of his career, his whole career. Saints go on to win 24-23. Nick, what was your reaction to the loss?
This is the best game of the day. Really well played, both sides of the ball by both teams. Not a shootout, but a game with good offense and really good defense by both teams in this game. Justin Tucker's been the best kicker in the league for nearly a decade.
Yes.
And he is statistically in the argument for best kickers ever. I couldn't believe he missed it. I mean,
he couldn't believe it.
He hadn't missed an extra point dating back to high school. Like, nobody could believe it. He's won a lot of games for Baltimore. He was bound to give one away. I didn't expect it to happen in this fashion.
Yeah, I saw a miracle go the other way for New Orleans. I was at the Minnesota Miracle, NFC divisional round game. They deserve a little miracle going their way. That's why Drew Brees and them took it. Hey, man, they took it running off the field. We'll take that one. That was a strange. Looked like someone had the ball on a string, right, when it and pull it on out the uprights.
Tough for Baltimore, though, with Cincinnati losing. They could have jumped into first place by themselves in their division. Instead, both 4-3.
Jags quarterback got benched in the third quarter of the game against the Texans yesterday after fumbling for the second time. Jags lost 20-7, their third loss in a row. After the game, players were reportedly arguing in the locker room. The team projected to do big things this season in a tailspin at this point. Head coach Doug Marrone explained why he pulled his quarterback.
I just literally did it to try to get a damn spark from this football team, to put everyone on notice, okay, to that they have to focus and they have to go out there and play better. And, you know, at points in the second half, they did that. That's not fair to the quarterback, but that's the way this business is. So really when we talk about it and the questions are going to be, well, who's your starting quarterback next week? And, you know, the focus will be on that. But for me, it's on everyone.
I don't think anything ever surprises you playing this game at this level. After the fumble, the second fumble, Doug let me know that Cody was going to go in, and you got to take care of the ball, give yourself a chance to score points and win, or at least punt it and try to change the field position. So I didn't do that, and they made a change. I'll do the same thing I've always done: show up at work and prepare and get ready to go and work as hard as I can. And if I play, I play. If not, then I'll do whatever I can to help this team.
Greg, what was your reaction to two things? One, to Marrone pulling Blake Bortles, and also to the reported discord in the locker room. I'm curious what you think about all that.
Well, first, on the Blake Bortles, I'm not surprised that he pulled him. What he said is exactly what you're looking to do. You're trying to create some type of spark, some type of energy to your team to get them back on track. As far as the discord, I don't mind the discord. Not one bit. I don't mind it because when I think of the discord, I see guys in my head that are frustrated, that it means something to them because they know what they have in front of them. Calais Campbell talked about it yesterday in his post-game interview. Look, everything that we still want to accomplish is still before us. It's still out there in front of us. Now, whether they accomplish that is completely up to those guys in that locker room. So the discord is frustration because they're not winning. They're not the team that everybody was so high on going into this season with the expectations of automatic Super Bowl bids. And their defense isn't playing as great as they did last year. Offense definitely got off to a great start with Blake Bortles, but as of late, they've done nothing. So I don't mind the discord, the Blake Bortles benching. It was warranted.
Listen, Blake's last 3 games, he's been terrible. They've been 0-3. He's been even worse than what you expect from Blake Bortles. His last 3 games, he's got a passer rating of 60. He's got 6 picks and 2 scores, and that's not even to mention the 2 lost fumbles this past week. He's been awful. But as far as discord listen, the Jaguars have made this bad decision and doubled down on it repeatedly. They had an opportunity last year to get Colin Kaepernick. Nah, we don't like his politics. They had an opportunity this offseason to get Teddy Bridgewater. Nah, we're going to extend Blake Bortles and tie ourselves to him for this year and next year. Why? So we can free up cap space, sign Dante Moncrief. All right, great. Well done, everybody. But that has been something we saw coming. Anyone that watches football has known the Jags are always limited at quarterback as long as he's their quarterback. But 30 points a game the last 3 weeks, what this defense has allowed. This defense all of a sudden is out there leaking oil week to week. Now, I understand it can be frustrating when you feel like, man, if we're down 10, we're dead because of our quarterback. The defense has to be better additionally. So this is, it's not to me a situation where the defense in the locker room can just be yelling at the offense, saying, you put us in this position. Not when you gave up 30 to Kansas City, 50 to Dallas, and 20 this week to a Texans team that hadn't been able to protect their quarterback all year long.
There's only one answer to this. I'm going to give it to the Jacksonville Jags, and it's free. And it's not a public service announcement. This is just free advice. Swallow your pride, pick up the phone, and call Cap. Now, you want to galvanize your locker room? You have a problem with that defense? Call Cap. Bring Cap to the locker room. Let's see if Cap can change it because he's better than the quarterback you have. And I just believe right now in the season, I believe he can make a difference on that football team. There's a lot of teams in the same spot as the Jags, but they're not going to have any answers. They're going to be picked apart by the media. Inside, they're going to be bickering. They're not going to get better. But they got a quarterback problem, and when you have a quarterback problem, you got a team problem. They made a mistake by not signing Cap. They know it behind the scenes. Nick and I know it. They talked to Cap, but we know it was strictly a political decision.
And not by the owner.
But if they want to go to London, they want to galvanize this team, call Cap. People be like, oh, okay, Chris, yeah, let's just call Cap. Well, he's a lot better than what you have. If you're trying to play that type of system, let's grind it out. Oh, there's no one better than playing. That's how they won in San Francisco. That's how they went to the Super Bowl. And Cap is the type of quarterback. He's a better thrower of the football than Blake Bortles. He's a better runner of the football. He's been a better winner. He's a better leader than Blake Bortles. So you get what you pay for. This is the decision that you've made. So your decision right now, that's the decision you made. And you made your players go out there and lie. Jalen Ramsey out there, oh, I love my quarterback. Oh, my quarterback. That's a flat-out lie. And players who have played on teams that have marginal quarterbacks, they know that. And that's what you do. You lie on a regular basis. Oh, yeah, we're happy. We're satisfied with that guy who's a bum. He's been a bum for a few years now. But the players on the team, when you're a leader of that team, you know what you got to do? You have to vouch for him. And it's hard to vouch for him. And yesterday, the coach said, you know something? This is enough. But it's not a good message to send to the team. You know the reason why, Greg? Because it's inconsistent. So now if you're Calais Campbell, if you're Jalen Ramsey, you've been playing good football, maybe not your best football. So now if you have a bad game, a bad play, they bench you. It's not fair. We ain't benched Blake through the years of him playing bad football. So it's not a consistent message to be able to send to a team.
Yeah, you mentioned the guys being, or not you, actually, the head coach, Marrone. He says this is an opportunity to galvanize our football team in our locker room. And when I think about what everybody tries to do when it comes to galvanizing teams, there's always this adversity. Well, adversity is going to hit every single locker room, every organization, every single year. And when you have a situation, to your point, at quarterback, it only escalates everything. This is not a position that you can do a patchwork job middle of the season. This is something going in that you are well aware that this is our barometer. This is what's going to get us over the top. Going into this season, they knew that, and they put their eggs all in this bucket and basket when they had other options that they could have explored, and they did not do that. So this is on them.
But you said it. They knew going in that this is who they had with Blake Bortles. They know what Blake Bortles' ceiling is. What they didn't realize was that the defense was going to be giving up 30 points a game. What they didn't realize that Jalen Ramsey was not going to be the same player it was last year. Because the team that rode their defense and say no matter what we do on offense, the defense can bail us out, suddenly isn't bailing them out anymore.
Yeah, that's all true. I mean, let's go across the board. The defense hadn't played well. But I ain't going to get over your quarterback. You still can't change that. Yeah, the defense hadn't played well. Yeah, okay. But your quarterback is not good at playing football.
And you had no contingency plan. Going into the year, we thought it was a little questionable that the Patriots only had Brian Hoyer as their backup, even though Brady never gets hurt and is never going to be benched. The Jags went into a year knowing their quarterback could be benched with Cody Kessler as their backup option. The New Orleans Saints have Drew Brees. They valued backup quarterback more. They got two of them. The Taysom Hill kid with a little wildcat scatback guy and Teddy Bridgewater. They went out and said right before the year, we're going to give up a draft pick to shore up our backup position. Do the Saints have three quarterbacks better than the Jags have anyone on their roster? Yes. This is sometimes just because you run a pro sports team doesn't mean you know what you're doing in all areas. And the way the Jags have addressed this position, which is to where it has been, we talked all last year how the Jags were number one or number two in every defensive category. And before the year, I said I don't think Jags are going to make the playoffs. Why? It's very hard year over year to not have the defense leak a little bit, to go from number 1, 2 to number 6, 7.
Good every
exactly
week.
Right. Are you calling Cap, C?
I'm giving the number.
Go ahead, John. I mean, it's just you had to expect the defense was going to fall off a little bit, and they had no contingency plan on offense. It's not Cody Kessler.
Should we wait, or you can do it during break? Okay, we're going to take a break. He's going to call Cap. Greg, stick around. Coming up, can anyone slow down Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs? That's next on First Things First. Back here with Greg Jennings. The two teams that have been the most impressive so far this season, Greg, have to be the Rams and Chiefs, both coming off wins again this weekend. Pat Mahomes threw for 358 yards, 4 touchdowns in the Chiefs' win over a very good Bengals team. Mahomes now has 22 touchdowns to lead the league. As for the Rams, they remain the NFL's only unbeaten team. They blew out the 49ers 39-10. That guy right there, Todd Gurley, 3 touchdowns, 2 on the ground, 1 in the air. All right, CC, I'll start with you. Which team was more impressive yesterday, the Chiefs or the Rams?
Well, for one, when you get to this point in the season, I think my 98 team, we were 7-0 and we lost to Tampa Bay, I think, on a Sunday. So when you get to this point in the season, you know, from a continuity standpoint, from a confidence standpoint, that you're a good football team. It's just a matter of how good you're going to be, how many injuries you're going to sustain coming down the back stretch of the season. So the Rams, even getting to 7-0, like I was on a team that got to 7-0. That's a major, major accomplishment from a mental standpoint to be consistent. But what Kansas City did yesterday was far more impressive from the team they were facing, the quarterback, the offense they were facing, and the way the defense played. Now, Aaron Donald, 4 sacks. Let me tell you something. That's a career day for any player. So you'd been like, so how are you going to mention the Rams without mentioning that? But what they did against Cincinnati and Kansas City, I believe the confidence that this defense is going to have. Now, I believe that the Rams are a better football team, but had to be more impressed with Kansas City, Greg, and what they did last night to the Cincinnati Bengals.
I agree 100%, and it's because of who they played, their opponent. When you look at both of these teams' opponent, obviously the Cincinnati Bengals, who was leading their division, still leading their division, I believe, with that loss. So when I look at the Kansas City Chiefs, the way that they've been able to win has been impressive. My expectations for the Rams, and this is no disrespect to the Rams. We understand that they're a great football team, the best in the National Football League. But as far as being impressed, I'm watching the Kansas City Chiefs on my television screen in awe. I'm wowed by the misdirection, their ability to get receivers open, their defense stepping up, creating turnovers when they were the last. You would have thought the Cincinnati Bengals would have at least made it a shootout against the Kansas City Chiefs defense. But what the Chiefs were able to do defensively as well as offensively, it's been very impressive.
I'm glad you mentioned Aaron Donald. Just quickly here, when you see a guy get 4+ sacks, we've seen that before. It's almost always an edge player against an overmatched tackle. We saw, I want to say it was Adrian Claiborne last year against Eric Flowers in a nationally televised game where Flowers could get no help. Or
you got 12 sacks over Eric Flowers.
I mean, it was or Winston Justice gave up a huge game to OCU Manura years ago. Like, you see that sometimes. An interior guy getting 4 sacks like that, when they're double teaming him every play, right, C? Or at least they're trying to.
They were trying to. He was magnificent. He put on a clinic last night.
And so now, for Aaron Donald, 0 sacks in his first 3 games of the year, 8 sacks in the last month of football. He has been tremendous. But what you're saying about the Chiefs is, how about this? In the last 2 weeks, Patrick Mahomes has had to throw into what Next Gen Stats calls a tight window 2 times total. Guys are running open. Like, they scored 40 and 45 yards without Mahomes having to fit in any creases. Like, one of the windows, one of those 2 passes, by the way, got picked against New England, the one in the end zone. Like, these guys they're running open. You cannot scheme one guy out of the game.
And he's finding the guy.
Absolutely right. It's not like
everyone's run wide open.
Correct. He's finding the guy who has run wide open, and you can't scheme one guy out of it because, that's what the Patriots did to Kelsey. Okay, how'd that end for him? I know they won the game, but not because they stopped the Chiefs' offense. Like, right now, the best thing going in football is the Kansas City Chiefs offense. I know a lot of people think the Rams are the best team, but the best thing going in football right now is the Kansas City Chiefs offense.
Okay. Their defense played great yesterday. Why did their defense look that way yesterday and differently all the games before that?
no one cares. If they continue to look like that, we don't care, and they don't care.
But as long as Mahomes and this offense is putting up 35 points, is that what they're going to have to do every game, though?
No, they didn't look that way in the first half.
Exactly. And when you look at this offense has been putting up points all season long. So their defense has had opportunities to get after quarterbacks. They've been playing with the lead. They've had opportunities to get after the quarterback, create turnovers. They just haven't been able to do those things. But I don't care. I don't want to say I don't care how my defense plays when my offense is this great, because sometimes your offense can become your defense because you know how bad your defense could potentially play. But when I look at these guys running wide open really quick, I give credit to not only Andy Reid, not only Patrick Mahomes, these receivers, but the offensive line giving them time. Everybody takes credit when you're having this amount of success. I've never seen guys run this wide open. Yes, I have. The other team that we're talking about, the St. Louis Rams, they have a lot of guys that run wide open as well.
Yeah, Jenna, great question about their defense. It's going to always be in question, but the players that they have put in to replace the guys that have been injured, you can see that they're starting to get a knack. So it's not a matter of sometimes what they can do. Well, let me call a defense of stuff that they stay away from their weaknesses. Orlando Scandrich is giving them a little lift at the corner spot, as long as they keep them off of A.J. Green one-on-one on the outside. So starting to understand that D4 is playing at a high level on that defense, getting them a pass rush week in and week out, even though they don't have Justin Houston. But the ability to understand those replacement players, what they can't do, and you can see their defensive coordinator putting them in winning position, and that's what we saw last night.
Bob Sutton. And I'm not going to sit here and make the case the Chiefs have some underrated, really good defense. What I am going to tell you is a lot of the yards and points they've given up has been after they are way ahead. In their 5 of their wins, up 14-3 on the Chargers, 21-0 on Pittsburgh, 35-7 on San Francisco, 23-0 on Jacksonville, 38-7 last night. So in those 5 wins, they've started the games 131-13. So the defense does play a little softer. They do drop back a little bit. Now against New England, they couldn't get a critical stop when they needed it, but I think some of the numbers are a little inflated.
Greg, the most important down in football was what?
Third down.
Third down. They've been good at third down.
75%.
So that right there is what we're going to watch going forward. Turnovers in third down.
They've been amazingly the best third and long defense in football this year.
Greg, thanks for stopping by. Much appreciated. Got to take a break. Coming up, did Cam Newton just pull the plug on the Eagles season? That's next on First Things First. Saturday on Fox. K-State battles Kyler Murray and number 8 Oklahoma at 3:30 Eastern. And then it's a Pac-12 showdown on FS1 as 15th ranked Washington takes on Cal. That's all coming your way Saturday on Fox, or watch anywhere on the Fox Sports app. All right, we'll get to Cam's crazy comeback against the Eagles in a minute. But first, check out Jarvis Landry with a diving catch at the 2-yard line, then reaches down for the touchdown. Great awareness, see.
That wouldn't have been a touchdown last year.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he didn't survive the ground when he reached it across, the ball comes loose. But it should, I mean, in today's NFL, it is a catch and a really smart play by Jarvis.
Really very, very aware. Knew he was a little bit short. I'm glad the rule was changed, even though I didn't want the rule changed. Roger, glad it was changed, because now, you know what, people don't call on Monday and be like, was that a catch? We know what a catch is now.
Nothing normal about Kareem Hunt. 21-yard run seemed to be caught after a 2-yard gain. Spins away, hurdles a Bengals defender. He's so good. That's why.
Kareem Hunt is the argument against spending a top 10 pick on a running back. Because there are guys such as him you can find later in the draft. He has been a revelation. He led the league in rushing last year. He's averaging 150 yards from scrimmage over his last 4 games after a slow start to the season. He's been great.
After seeing some of the video of Patrick Mahomes playing basketball and baseball, I'd love to see who's the best athlete on the Kansas City's offense.
Ooh.
That would be a heck of a competition.
DeAndre Hopkins with an incredible one-handed catch over Jalen Ramsey.
That wasn't good. Well, that's what Jalen's going to say afterwards. This was spectacular. Great release off the line of scrimmage, holding the DB with your right hand, spearing it with his left. No, this ain't the gloves. This guy can catch it.
2 best pairs of hands in football. Both the guys got locks flowing out the back of their helmet. Larry Fitzgerald and DeAndre Hopkins. the best guys at those types of catches, the most consistent hands in football.
Yeah, because they braid their hair and make it nice, tricky fingers.
Cam and the Panthers taking on the Super Bowl champion Eagles. Carolina down 17-0 in the fourth, but mount the comeback here. Cam finds Devin Funchess, less than 5 minutes to go. Later in the fourth, Cam to Greg Olsen for the touchdown. Panthers now up 21-17. Eagles going for the win, 4th and 2, and Carson gets sacked. Philly loses. They fall to 3-4 on the season. More losses than they had all last season. Here's Cam Newton on the win.
You know, moving forward, this is a confidence booster for us. You know, it's something that can accelerate, you know, the production offensively, defensively, as well as special teams.
This is a player's game, right? Players have to make plays, and you know, we try to, as coaches, we put them in possession to be successful, and so we got to evaluate that and just coach better and play better. We have to learn from these. These are things. These are games that galvanize football teams, and this is going to do that. This is going to bring us even closer together. Basically told them that, hey, pressure's off of us. Nobody on the outside world is giving us a chance to do much of anything, and pressure's off, so we can go play, have fun, and just relax, and a lot of football ahead too. You know, we still have a bunch of games, and still anything's possible, anything can happen, and you know, we still treat it as 1 week at a time.
Nick, Cam Newton walked into the fourth quarter trailing 17-0. He had to get his team 17 points and then some, and he did it. How impressive was this comeback?
I want to give Cam a ton of credit, but I don't think Cam is the story. But to give Cam the credit, I mean, just look. You said it, Jenna. First 3 quarters, what he did, and then in the fourth quarter, what he did. We can show you side by side. The first 3 quarters, he was having his worst game of the year. He was awful. The offense was awful. For the second straight week, they were down 17-0 in a game. This week, though, in the fourth quarter, brilliant. Didn't miss a throw and had a 4th and 10. A 4th and 10 at his own 31, down 3 in a spot. I know the announcer, because it was on the north side of the 2-minute warning, announcer was saying maybe you punt here. And look at what Cam does. Takes a hit, jumps, and finds Torrey Smith, former Philadelphia Eagle, for an enormous play that put him in field goal range, but they weren't satisfied with the field goal. They go and get the touchdown. So all the credit to the Panthers and Cam for a huge comeback. But to me, the story is Philadelphia blowing a 3-score fourth quarter lead. And now you look at, oh, wait, Philadelphia in one of their losses against Tennessee, they blew a 17-3 lead. They now blow a 17-0 lead. They have one game all year. They won decisively. 11 days ago against the Giants. Their win week 1 against Atlanta. Atlanta blew it in the red zone repeatedly. And their win against Indy, it took a 17-play, 75-yard drive for them to end up pulling that one out of the fire. And then they almost lost it in the end again. Like, this Eagles team, they looked like the Super Bowl champs once all year. Thursday night, this last Thursday against the Giants. And like we said Friday, see, if they had a performance like this, I would sit here for Monday and say that game was more about the Giants being a disaster than Philadelphia having found its way.
To me, it's about Cam Newton in the fourth quarter. I can't believe it's almost 8 o'clock. We started at 6:30. Because if this was Tom Brady, and Tom Brady had done that, if he had a 133 passing rating in the fourth quarter at Philadelphia, we'd be talking about it before that. If it was Aaron Rodgers, we would have talked about it. If it was Carson Wentz, if Cam Newton was up 17 points and Carson Wentz had come back, we would have talked about it before. Cam Newton, the way he played in the fourth quarter with his arm, not his legs, and his brain. He beat the world champs with his head. This is what we know Cam Newton is capable of playing. This is the level we know he's capable of playing. His MVP season, we saw it almost week after week after week. But you got to give credit to Ron Rivera as a coach. He always has his team believing in the players that they have and how they're going to play. But bringing in Norv Turner at this point in Cam's career, that he would surrender what he knows about quarterbacking and let Norv Turner work with him, that's what you could see in the fourth quarter. The jump pass, the instincts to be able to, I'm going to stay in the pocket and not try to win this with my legs, relying on my head. That means my brain and my arm. That's what I saw in that fourth quarter, and I thought we should be talking about it more. It was a tremendous game by one of our best quarterbacks that we have on the road against the world champs.
I wanted to ask you about what Doug Peterson said in some of his comments, talking about how he's trying to change, and you could see what he's trying to do. He's trying to change the mindset in the locker room to get back on the platform where they were last year. Oh, we're underdogs, no one believes in us, and he's trying that again. Okay, all right, we're not in front, we're not in the driver's seat anymore. No one thinks we can do anything. At some point, they have to stop thinking about last year. As Mangini always says, it's over. This is a new season. They've got Carson Wentz now. He's got enough games under his belt where he should be playing the way they wanted him to play last year. Talk to me about whether this Eagles team can right their season.
Well, Jenna, Cam Newton was the story until Doug Peterson's press conference.
Okay.
And trying to listen to him in the press conference, because I'm like, no, you are a head coach. You're not trying to be a head coach. And his comments are a coach just pulling for straws. You can't go into an NFL locker room and tell these guys with 8, 9 games to go to play in the season, hey, guys, there's no more pressure. That's a lie. And players know when you're lying to them because there is pressure. And matter of fact, the rest of the season, there's more pressure.
Those guys can lose their jobs, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Doug Peterson's not going to lose his job.
Of course not. I mean, he's a made man now with the Super Bowl. But you can't go into an NFL locker room after a game and be like, hey, guys, there's no pressure. Well, the pressure I was putting on you guys before was false pressure or fake pressure. So now there's no pressure. No one outside this locker room believes that well, there's guys in that locker room don't believe you can win either. Because when you lose 17-point lead at home, guys begin to question each other and their own ability, Nick.
I just think this Eagles team has no identity right now. None. If you'd have told me at any point last season, even when Foles was the quarterback, they got a 17-point fourth-quarter lead. Good night, good luck. You know what that's going to turn into? A 24 or a 27-point fourth-quarter lead.
Yeah, it's going to turn to your quarterback getting hurt.
Exactly right, because you're going to have to drop back to pass nearly every play. They're going to be able to unleash those pass rushers, and it's over. Like, this Eagles team, they blew a lead in overtime this year. That's only been done a handful of times in NFL history because up until recently it wasn't possible to do it. Like, no lead is safe in a negative way. We talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. No lead safe against them. No lead right now is safe for Philadelphia to have. And for the head coach to say, you seized on the, just go have fun part of it. You cannot play the underdog card anymore. You played it to its fullest extent last year. You cannot anymore say, oh, nobody believes in us. You're the defending champs. You have the most winnable division in football, and you're blowing it. Dallas and Washington yesterday were trading who wanted to lose that football game. The Giants might be the worst team in the NFL. You're sitting right there, and you've blown multi-score leads to the Titans, a 17-point lead at home to the Panthers. Like, I don't get it. What up, Steve?
Lane Johnson sat right here and told us how much fun is it today in Philadelphia. Read the papers. Watch the news, okay? This is NFL. Just slow down when you start criticizing New England and what they're doing, because I guarantee you it's a lot funner today with Bill Belichick and his crusty press conference than what your coach told you guys yesterday.
When's the last time Pats blew a 17-point lead at home in the fourth quarter? My guess is back when Rod Rust was the quarterback. Certainly not Brady and Belichick.
Got to take a break. Coming up, let's talk a little NBA fisticuffs. Next on First Things First. Back here on First Things First, we are going viral. LeBron James made his Staples Center debut for the Lakers on Saturday, and there were some familiar faces waiting for him outside the arena with an imposter, J.R. Smith, holding a sign that read, "It was just one play," and a fake Ty Lue with a poster that said, "Come home."
The fake JR looks good. If I'm Ty Lue, I'm furious.
I didn't know who that was, but let me just tell you something. That's a bad beat there for Ty Lue. Major shrinkage.
Oh, my God. Listen, Ty's one of my favorite people in the league. That's a bad beat for him. The JR thing's perfect.
Major.
Looks like a JR
I used to be an NBA player.
Right.
But now a guy holding up a sign.
That is funny.
Ty Lue. Man, he's aged since LeBron left, too.
Absolutely. Cavs have, too. Cavs getting blown out at home by the Hawks.
Come on, Jenna.
Time now for Stories to Start Your Morning, sponsored by Gillette. Clear gel, love my job. Kareem Hunt continues to dazzle for Chiefs offense. He caught 2 touchdown passes while running for 86 yards and a touchdown as the Chiefs beat down the Bengals. Nick, how important is Hunt to this Chiefs offense?
Oh, wildly important, because he forces you to not just be able to play the pass. You have to worry about Kareem Hunt. He said it. He and the offensive line, through 3 weeks, he wasn't very productive. And he said, or the offensive line actually said for him, well, we've just been so successful through the air, we haven't had to run him. He's second in the league in touchdowns, 150 yards from scrimmage per game the last month.
You need him because you need it when you have that lead to be able to win. 4-minute offense to be able to run out the clock, have teams use up all their timeouts, and it sets up that devastating play-action pass. So that running game with Kareem Hunt is important.
All right, moving on. Much is made of the Rams' explosive offense, but Aaron Donald dominated the 49ers yesterday with 4 sacks and 6 tackles for loss.
Oh, my God.
Rams improved to 7-0. They won 39-10. Cris, how important is Aaron Donald to this Rams' success?
They don't have an outside rusher, so he becomes really important. One thing you have to worry about, their rush defense. Last year, not very impressive. This year, it becomes important. Him and Ndamukong Suh there, he is a star, best defensive player that we have. A guy also just got a busload of money, still playing like he's trying to earn a new contract. I love it.
The reason you heard me audibly gasp when you read that is this was the game in the afternoon window I was paying the least attention to because it wasn't close and I knew he had the 4 sacks. I didn't know he had a half dozen TFLs to go along with it. He had 10 tackles in the backfield yesterday. For an interior player, that's almost unheard of. But your point about the money is such a good one. He and Gurley got paid early. And
yes,
both of them are playing the best football of their respective careers post-contract, which is what you always want to see.
Gurley rhymes with early. Moving on to the Saints and Ravens. Drew Brees became... Cece's nodding. He's like, yeah. Drew Brees became the 4th quarterback to throw 500 touchdown passes. However, this game came down to the wire as Ravens kicker Justin Tucker, who does not miss extra points, missed his first extra point of his entire career. Saints win 24-23. Nick, what was your reaction to this loss?
Justin Tucker felt like a sucker after this one. Am I right, Jenna? Am I right, Jenna? Listen, he's the best kicker. He's the best kicker in football, has been for nearly a decade. He is the surest thing at that position. And see, you said it like it looked perfect. Kick.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it just exits stage left.
I heard one of the Ravens, he was like, oh, Justin Tucker, that mother.
He should retire and be a trucker.
By the way, huge win for the Saints. As they are, we got to figure out who's going to get that second bye in the NFC, assuming the Rams take the first one. Big win for them.
All right, finally, let's talk a little Blake Bortles, because we may not be talking about Blake Bortles that much longer. The Jags quarterback got benched in the 3rd quarter against the Texans after fumbling for the 2nd time. So the Jaguars lose 20-7. It is their 3rd loss in a row. After the game, players were reportedly arguing in the locker room. The team, projected to do big things this season, is in somewhat of a tailspin at this point. Head coach Doug Marrone explained why he pulled his quarterback.
I just literally did it to try to get a damn spark from this football team, to put everyone on notice, okay, to that they have to focus and they have to go out there and play better. And, you know, at points in the second half, they did that. That's not fair to the quarterback, but that's the way this business is. So really, when we talk about it, and the questions are going to be, well, who's your starting quarterback next week? And, you know, the focus will be on that. But for me, it's on everyone.
I don't think anything ever surprises you playing this game at this level. After that, the fumble, the second fumble, Doug let me know that Cody was going to go in, and you know, you got to take care of the ball, give yourself a chance to score points and win, or at least punt it and try to change the field position. So I didn't do that, and you know, they made a change. I'll do the same thing I've always done: show up at work and prepare and get ready to go and work as hard as I can. And if I play, I play. If not, then I'll do whatever I can to help this team.
CC, what did you make of Marrone pulling Bortles there?
He should have pulled him. And Blake Bortles, I got news for you. If you want to be successful, stop showing up to work doing the same thing you've been doing, because you're going to get the same results. All right? It's the definition of insanity. Thinking I'm going to get different results by doing the same thing. So change that. Even if you don't, say something different at your press conference. They should have been benched him. Like, you're not going to win a Super Bowl with Blake Bortles as your starting quarterback. But this is you are a sum of your decisions in life. And this is the decision that the Jaguars have made. They doubled down by signing him to an extent. They didn't have to sign him. They didn't have to have. They made a conscious choice. They want Blake Bortles as their quarterback, manage the game. They're going to have a great defense. But I'm tired of telling you. Call Cap, man. Swallow your pride. He's a lot better no matter where he is right now at 6'5", about 225 pounds.
In great shape.
He can play that. If that's the style of football you want to play, Cap's the best quarterback to have for it. And do I believe he can grow his passing game? Yes. Do they need some explosive weapons this offseason? Yes. But they need to have Cap as their quarterback. Their defense would improve. If you want to try to galvanize this team, do something like that. You had a chance to get Teddy Bridgewater, didn't even try. Let him just go off to New Orleans, like as if they need a quarterback.
Because, see, it's not only that they doubled down on their decision with Blake Bortles. They don't want a competent backup quarterback because they don't want people clamoring for the backup.
Who's their backer? Cody Kessler?
Cody Kessler.
Oh, you know something? He was so good, Cleveland couldn't even use him. He was so good, he could barely start in college at USC.
He completed his first pass of his career yesterday. He never completed a pass in this league. Like, that's why certain teams have a backup quarterback, so they're in the best position to win if their quarterback gets hurt. And certain teams have a backup quarterback that they can call a project, but is really just someone who is so unknown or bad that no one's going to call for the backup, no matter how poorly the starter plays. You mentioned Cap. Listen, I know Cap is not talking publicly about the collusion suit. You and I got to sit down and talk with him. He didn't want to talk about it even in that setting. And I'm no lawyer, but if I were, I think I might just present some game tape from yesterday and set it at the judge's desk. Exhibit A, Cody Kessler. Exhibit B, C.J. Beathard. Exhibit C, Derek Anderson. And as an added bonus, there's a Brock Osweiler guy who, to his credit, played well yesterday down in Miami. That is an eighth of the league yesterday. That was playing quarterbacks that going into a game, should not be starting in this league. But Liz, C and I have some added intel on this, not from discussions with Colin Kaepernick, but from discussions with people that know the owner of the Jaguars. And Shad Khan was okay with it. This wasn't an example of the owner vetoing it. This was an example of Tom Coughlin deciding winning football games is not the most important thing to me.
No. He made a decision. It was like he was the king.
Tryout.
Either live or die. And the Cap concept of coming to Jacksonville died with Tom Coughlin. So when you want to look at don't look to your coach to been his problem. Don't look to Blake Bortles because he can only be who you are. It's Tom Coughlin's fault. So when you look to someone to point to, Tom Coughlin is the reason why Colin Kaepernick did not sign with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
And the reason that C brings up Cap in relation to this team is not just because they have a terrible quarterback who got benched, but it's not. There are other teams. You might say, hey, in San Francisco, like, they lost Jimmy G. There's other spots, right? But this is the one spot there was forward momentum. That it was, everyone had given it the okay last year, and then Tom Coughlin vetoed.
And style-wise, Cap fits with this Jaguars offense?
Oh, look at his numbers. If you want to be a dominant defensive running team, that's what Harbaugh and him did in going to the NFC Championship twice by going to Super Bowl, only losing to Ray Lewis and the Baltimore Ravens on a fade pattern that him and Crabtree could not connect on. So, yes, his worst days are Blake Bortles' career days. That's who Colin Kaepernick was as a quarterback in this league. Let's not forget this. So their politics have gotten in the way of their football. That's why right now they having a mutiny. That's why they at each other's neck. Yeah, they got problems in Jacksonville, and they ain't getting no better because they going to London, which is the only place that people are cheering for Blake Bortles.
You know who helped the team win yesterday? Eric Reed did. Eric Reed almost had the game-winning pick. I know he had some stuff before the game and after the game that bothered some people, but on the field yesterday, Eric Reed was a positive for Carolina. They probably don't win that game without him. They're actually trying to win. Them and their ownership and their team president, they're trying to go to the Super Bowl.
I'll do my highlights for you in a British accent next week. Does that sound good?
Excited for that.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Jenna.
Thought you might be. Hey, let's move on to some drama in the NBA.
I'm gonna do my highlights in the Cap jersey.
AKA Spitgate 2018. Rockets vs. Lakers Saturday night starts off with James Harden and Brandon Ingram getting into what I like to call a physical disagreement. Chris Paul, Rondo get into it, and that's where things get nasty. Both players throwing punches. Both players get ejected. Yesterday, the NBA stepped in, handed out suspensions. Ingram got 4 games. Rondo got 3. Chris Paul got 2. Nick, what was your reaction to all of this?
All right, first of all, people need to know the history. These two guys hate each other. Rondo and Chris Paul. Here's a quote from a PR director in the NBA. Rajon has requested you not ask anything about Chris Paul now, tomorrow, or any time in the future. That was the Celtics PR director in 2009.
Oh, wow.
So this has been going on for a decade. Back in 2009, Chris Paul and Rondo played each other, and Rondo said to him, I'm a champion, you'll never be one. And Chris Paul didn't play that. Chris Paul talked about it afterwards, and they have been at each other's throats since that moment. Now, what do I think happened here? I do think Rondo spit on it. I don't think he meant to. I think that if you look at...
Well, I think there's a difference because I think people, when you say spit, it's different than something being projected out of your mouth. Saying when you're talking loud or animated, something comes out of your mouth. Yeah. That would be more appropriate compared to if you think about spit, you think someone deliberately spit something.
Robbie Alomar to the ump is what you think. And so Chris Paul's reaction wasn't like, I mean, I know Chris Paul. If he thinks someone spit in his face intentionally, he is not putting his finger in Rondo's face. He's throwing immediately. And this is, I joked about it before the show. I think what happened is what happens between you or me, Jen, about once every 3 months. One of us, we're sitting this close, and one of us catches the other one with a loose one. Like it happens. You're talking, you're animated. I believe that's what happened there. Now, afterwards, I don't really blame, and this is where you might disagree, I don't blame Chris Paul for putting his finger in his face. And once he put his finger in his face, Rondo, it's not surprising to me that he swung. I'm glad LeBron grabbed Chris Paul to prevent it from escalating further because Brandon Ingram was trying to take it up another level, which is why Brandon Ingram, he started it, tried to end it. It's why he got the harshest suspension of anyone involved. But if Rondo intentionally spit at him, that is a enormous, grievous error. But I don't think that's what happened. I do think Chris Paul got some of Rondo's saliva on his face, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I could see this happening. The history is there. It's relevant. Also, during the game, as you watch the game, it got a little chippy. I can understand Houston, they lost opening night. They had to be able to win this game. It's LeBron's opening night. They feel like there's no one giving them any type of respect in the West. Chris Paul's returning to the arena where he played also with the Clippers. Remember the battle they had last year with the Clippers, with Houston. Supposedly, they went through the other door and all those things. So, yes, this is real. I don't like seeing fighting in sports. I just don't like seeing fighting. I know that when you get in a face-to-face confrontation with someone, I don't believe Rondo did it intentionally. I could see Chris Paul and his natural reaction, but I'm not a person that like to see fighting at any type of sporting event on the court.
I was surprised at the length of the suspensions as far as how short they were. I remember Melo getting a double-digit game suspension when he was a Nugget, got in a fight with the Knicks, or it was a Knicks-Nuggets game where Melo punched and then ran backwards. He got 10-plus games. To see that Chris Paul got 2, Rondo 3, and Ingram 4, that to me shows Adam Silver's approach to this is different than David Stern's. David Stern was, no pun intended, a little more stern in these instances. I want to ask you one question, C, because I know that these takes have already started. Do you have a problem that LeBron grabbed Chris Paul instead of one of his teammates? I thought it was obvious. I thought Chris Paul's the one in front of him. He also not only is obviously bigger than Chris Paul, but has the relationship to where if anyone's going to calm him down, it'd be LeBron. Did you have a problem with that?
Listen, if you're trying to break up a fight, if whoever you're with, grab the other person. Don't grab me, because then you end up getting hit. Grab the other person. Forget about being in a relationship. When you're breaking up a fight, I'm not grabbing my guy. I'm grabbing their guy. So I can hold him, so I can be able to restrain him to make sure if I really want to stop the fight, stop the other person. Because if he would have grabbed Rondo, that wouldn't have stopped the fight. So when you're involved in these fights with players on courts and everything, man, grab the opposition so your guy doesn't get hit. So, no, I don't have no problem with that, man. Anything LeBron does, man, he wore the wrong shoes, all right? That's what we're going to do. At the beginning and end of the day, they're human. LeBron has the most significant relationship on that court with Chris Paul and Melo. That's real. But LeBron did the right thing. Grab the opposition so I can't get hit.
Stop the other guy.
Are you in a lot of street fights?
No, me and my girlfriends get into it girl. So now I know. I wasn't sure how to handle in that situation.
Jenna hit someone with a beer bottle last weekend.
I have never hit anyone with a beer bottle.
Bud Lime.
Okay, I do like Bud Lime and the Bud Lime Orange. The Bud Orange is
you love them.
Light, low carb.
Especially when you cracking your girlfriends over the head. Marnie, I heard she had something hot for you.
We got to go. Marnie, I didn't do that. Did Jason Garrett cost the Cowboys a win on Sunday? Next on First Things First. Saturday on Fox, K-State battles Kyler Murray and number 8 Oklahoma at 3:30 Eastern. Then it's Pac-12 showdown on FS1 as 15th-ranked Washington takes on Cal. It's all coming your way Saturday on Fox. or watch anywhere, anytime on the Fox Sports app. Not anytime, just when the games are actually being played, because that wouldn't quite work.
But you can check out the Fox Sports app at any time. You can watch our show on the app.
Yeah.
Be able to watch some World Series games on the app,
Yeah,
college
you
football.
just can't watch all those games anytime.
Correct.
Because of
But,
the
Live
they gotta,
sports.
but they got to tune into that OU game this week. I mean,
it's gonna be
Kyler
great.
Murray is must-see TV. He put on a show in Fort Worth.
Totally agree. Good to see you, Canty.
What's going on, bro?
Look who's here, Cris Canty, former first Super Bowl champ. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Jenna.
Just
First.
First Super Bowl.
Former first Super Bowl champ.
First things
You have
first,
aged
former
beautifully.
Well, I'm telling you, right?
Won that Super Bowl
What was that,
53 years ago.
67.
Every time, Kent,
I've
you
been
never
killing them
fail.
since 67.
2 or 3 days a week when you come out and
Maybe
you
you
got
just
Jenna stumbling over the
bring
wall.
I don't know what it is.
Purple
You make me
tie and
nervous.
everything.
Yeah,
whatever
rest in
it
peace to
is.
my
Coach
Ravens,
was
man.
Lombardi.
Huh?
Bart Starr
Okay.
galvanized those
All right, you
locker
see what
rooms.
jokes,
Pretty
jokes
good
on jokes
coach.
on jokes on jokes on
Outstanding.
jokes on jokes on jokes. Thank you for listening to the First Things First podcast. Remember, leave us a review and tell us what you think. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and catch us on FS1 Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern. For Chris Carter and Nick Wright, I'm Jenna Wolfe. So long, everybody.